on the recording now?
Yeah, and it's recording. Brilliant. Thank you.
That's great. Okay.
Great. So
Right.
yeah, if you can go ahead and share, and we'll look at the bug, and then we'll look at the information, because Sue might be able to give some pointers about the actual receipt itself. Just
All right. So
on me.
this is the latest version, which I got it from today morning to try on the same particular scenario, applying the receipt with one receipt having multiple installments. All right.
Sorry, Andrew, can you see around the screen?
No. Yeah, I think you might need to click on the share screen button again. It didn't seem to work.
I did. I assume you started viewing it. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Coming
Yeah.
up now.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the latest version. Just to give you version details.
Yeah.
Right. I spoke to Brent about what's in this version. So the issue that you were facing with the Excel throwing you out, there's a fix that should fix that. Hopefully that's been resolved.
Yeah, that's been resolved. I was able to do a successful upload into Oracle. That's not an issue anymore. But then I have the same problem in applying the multiple installments which I had earlier. So this is my current license, which is 71. Current version 71, which is the last version sent to me.
Yeah. Oh, there
And
should be a 73 actually. Just checking the. I'll just bring me the case up to make sure I'm right about that. But I think he sent me 73.
The version
sorry,
we have.
No, I'm wrong. It is 71. You're on the right one. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so what I did basically, I did downloaded the invoice details directly from Oracle via download via form or download via sheet, and just to make sure the application is right. So that's the first action I did. I just copied this transaction number, downloaded the number of records. So the total download which has happened for me was 2453. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, after the download has completed, what I did is basically just total this entire installment amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then took it to receipt, and I just updated here as a receipt amount.
Yeah, that looks right. Yeah.
Okay, and then I just gave the necessary details to create the receipt.
Okay.
Okay, now I went and uploaded this particular receipt for creation and as well as for the application as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And post, I think it took almost 35 to 40 minutes for the whole process. And then it threw me an error message. Okay. Now, once the complete process got completed, and this is what the error message it got. Can you see this?
Yeah.
All right. Now, out of 2453 installments, the error came up to 1732. So remaining 751 odd, etc., was identified, rather I would say validated properly. For example, if you look here, the below ones are validated.
Yeah, but the error ones, it says something about the installment number, doesn't it?
That's correct. All these are related to the installment.
And you're sure that those installment numbers are correct?
Well, I downloaded this from, I've never copied. I downloaded this from directly from Oracle.
Right. Oh.
That's what is a little weird for me.
So if you go across to where it shows you the balance outstanding, what does it show? Does it have a value for these lines or not?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. So then, okay, it looks like you're doing it properly now, or correctly, so that you can just copy the outstanding balance into that amount apply column.
Exactly, that's what I did. So when I downloaded when I downloaded these lines, these installments directly from Oracle, so it
Yeah.
never gave me the amount applied. Instead, it just showed me the outstanding balance for each and
Yeah,
every
that's right. Yeah.
installment.
So
So
yeah,
I,
that
yeah,
sorry, that just allows you then, if you don't want to apply the whole amount, that you can put in the amount that you do want to apply.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's interesting then, the installment. If we go back over to look at the installment numbers.
Hmm.
So
And it's quite weird that out of 2, 4, 5, 3 installments, I
mm,
can see 751 installments identified. It's got validated
yeah.
without any error.
Mm. If you look in Oracle, you can see those installments without any problem, can you?
Now, my first question is, if Oracle doesn't have these installments, then how is that going to get
Yeah,
downloaded?
populated, yeah. But I just wondered if there was anything that looks a bit odd in Oracle about these. How would they have been created, the transactions? Are they automatic, like interfaced, or?
Correct. It's an automatic interface. So can you see this? So we have a count of 721 lines with different installment numbers validated without any error.
Yeah. But then the first. I'm not really sure why that would happen then. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll need, Andrew, have you got any ideas why it might?
I don't know where those numbers come out. So in the download, I presume those were populated by the download, right?
Is there
My
any?
another question to you. Okay. Now I'm so curious to know that when you apply these lines, is there any restriction placed on number of lines or number of installments to be applied or to be identified? For example, when I download, I know there are 2,400 odd lines, but when I'm trying to apply it, is there any limitations set saying that it should apply only the first 1,000 lines or first 800 lines or something like that? Is there a limitation set so that the remaining installments, whatever is appearing, shows as a not invalid list of values?
I don't know of any restriction. I certainly wouldn't imagine it would be written in on purpose. But yeah, that's a difficult one to answer. But yeah, it wouldn't be typical of our tools to have any limitations of that type.
Well, yeah, but if it were a limitation, then the first ones would have gone in, wouldn't they? They would have been loaded and then or would have been validated, but then the later ones wouldn't have been.
It could be to do with how the information package is sent. If you open up the form on that installment, what is in the list? It says it's not in the list of values. So let's see what's in that list. Because it could be a limitation in the list of values for the installment.
Okay.
Installment, yeah.
And another weird part is, though it says validated, okay, I went and checked in Oracle, the receipt was not created.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not great. You didn't want to have a halfway. Can you go back to that form and just look at that list again for the installment number, and let's just have a look at what's in behind that drop down. Because the limitation could actually be in the control list of values. So if you pull down that list there, it's going to take a while, I guess, because it's got several lines. But if you go and just what's in that list. So it's starting at 1855 and it goes down to what's the bottom one? And that must match the error.
Ideally speaking, whatever appears here already got validated without any error.
Yeah, my guess would be that there's a logical restriction in the validation query for that field. So what the wizard does is it tries to check the data's clean before it sends it to Oracle, so that it hasn't tried to call it because it's failed in its validation check, and the query that fills this value, which has only got, I don't know, 1400 or whatever the number was, 700, whatever you said, that query could be incorrect.
Is there any point in doing a debug, just trying to upload like the first couple of lines and then?
It's probably worth doing that. Maybe close out of the form here, and if you click on the plus button there, or actually maybe if you go down to the bottom where it's got all the tabs, create and apply and all that, if you go and right click on those tabs at the bottom of the spreadsheet there, where these, if you right click on that.
Okay, which one?
Any of them's fine. Just right click, because it'll bring it. Just go unhide and see if it has. Okay, so it doesn't. So that's fine. Cancel that, and then click on that plus button to the right and create a new sheet.
Okay. And
just rename that debug, capital DEBUG. And that, I think maybe, I don't know if it's case sensitive or not. Do you know, Sue, if it needs to be low?
I think it would be all right like that. I think.
Okay, brilliant. So yeah, and then let's run that load again. You said it takes 30 odd minutes, didn't you?
Yeah, what about just 2 lines, say at the top, if we know they're not going to go in?
Yeah, perhaps if you go back to that,
first 2.
Go right up to the first row on row 11, and just copy rows 11 and 12 into the sheet again, maybe above it. And that'll, you can do the whole row, you can, just that's enough, and then just insert those in somewhere above or below. Yeah, below's fine. Yeah, just maybe try and load those 3.
Four, 6, 6, or 8. So yeah, it gives me the.
I mean, I'm not, just before we do the load, just in case, because I'm not that familiar, can you open up the form again and just make sure that that list of values is still rejecting it in the form? Yeah, okay, that's good. So I was just worried that it might run the query again and find them. So find it, that's cool. It looks like it's a problem. So when we run the upload now, cancel's final, but okay, so that's no problem. Just do the load now, and that debug sheet should fill up with some information about what's being uploaded. Can you scroll across to the rest of that message just so we can see the rest of the text? So there's a PLSQ error in there as well, PLSQL error in there as well, because it's creating an Oracle response. So okay, that's good.
Note of that message?
Can you cut and paste that text into the clipboard and put it in? Just copy it into the wizard somewhere. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then let's just look in the debug, and we can see. So somewhere there should be no, this is going to be a little bit hard for me to diagnose. You'd expect to see a query somewhere against the installment numbers. But if it's already caged, perhaps, I'm not sure. Can you just scroll down a little bit? We'll see. It's going to be hard to. Maybe we'll lucky and we'll spot it with our eyes.
Because I know on some of the wizards there are restrictions to like 1,000 values, or because here you've got where row num is less than 1001 on row 20 something that I'm looking at here. So it could well be.
It's quite possible. Did you? What was the number in that era before? It was something like 1400 or something, wasn't it? That 12. It was a
2207
2207 was the.
installment number.
Yeah, no. I was, when you did the load and you there were so many that were errored and there were so many that were validated. Do you
Right.
remember?
So I think it was 750 that were validated and all the others were error, I think.
Yeah.
721 was validated.
Now,
720.
this is a question
Yeah.
for Sue. I don't know if you know this, Sue. If you were to open this invoice in Oracle's forms, is that installment number something that's visible to view?
It should be, I think, under the payment schedules, I would imagine. I mean, it's, yeah.
Is that something you could display up for us, Ramona?
In Oracle?
Yeah, if you've got access to the form, maybe we could just look at that that invoice and just check, because it could. My guess is that the validation for the installation number that
I was just wondering
query
though,
might be the problem.
so what the last number that is valid is in the, is it?
Okay, now
it's
just to look into that, this is a validated one. So if I double click on this, yeah, this doesn't have a problem.
Yeah, so that one, so whatever the query is that's behind that control that validates that that installment number is correct for that invoice, that may be only bringing back 700 records by error. So
But if we, can we do a sort on the installment number and just see where the errors start? If it is the last, I don't know, 700 or have you looked at that, Ram? You know that it's the 721, the last or the highest ones that are failing.
they're the lowest, I think.
Yeah, the last one, not it was the last record. It's not the first record. The first,
Right.
almost the first every installment was not identified.
So do we know what number it stops at before it starts valid erroring it?
Okay.
I think something around 1800.
Or should it be 2000?
Oh, you'll need to change the format of that. Yeah. Bit annoying. That's the problem that Excel brings.
Because you've got 2000, all right.
1742. Yeah, this is the last record.
Well, they're the early numbers, aren't they? Is it?
Yeah, they are early numbers.
But then at the top, you've got the 2270 or something as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a great pattern between that, because it's
No, that's weird.
there's a chunk in the middle that did work. I saw 1910 was okay.
Yeah, and 2000 was okay.
Could you open that up in the Oracle forms and we'll just see what the invoice looks like there. My guess is that they'll need to just look at the validation query against the installation number.
I think you're looking for the invoice, is it? Transaction.
Yeah.
So under.
These are the installment numbers.
So if you look at one that is erroring in the wizard, just see if there's any difference in data. I guess it's all the same. It looks.
Is it possible to search by sequence number for that 800 and whatever it was, 69? I think that was one of the ones that had the error.
I think it's a little tough to search by that, but then just give me a minute. I think this is the Toku. Yeah, this is from line 1.
So that,
So,
But the line's not necessarily the same as installment, is it?
okay,
Normally it isn't it?
okay. All right, so in that case, okay, then I will just extract this. What happened?
But okay.
This is almost equivalent to the way which we tried downloading via Sheet.
Okay. Hmm. Too big.
This is weird.
Oh, great.
Okay.
So are they all still open? All of them? Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
so those ones there are the ones that error. The 2250. That's an example of one that.
Yeah, and
this-
2270.
error.
Yeah.
So I think as per this sheet, the first 721 is validated. Let me check that. Yeah. See, these are the records which are appearing without any error. The first 721 records.
Okay. The first ones you said?
Yeah, these are the first as per the extract.
Ah, so the way that they're sorted in the extract, the first value.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah,
This is the extract just now taken from Oracle.
yeah.
So as per the extract, the first set of 721 records doesn't have any error.
Right. Okay. So it could be something to do with the
Okay, now
oracle of the
yeah,
instrument.
I will just show you another example. Okay.
Mhm.
Just while it's going on there, Ramanujam, did there was a fix delivered in that version for the download form. Did you get a chance to check that? Did that go away?
Download via form and download via sheet works perfectly. I don't have an error.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So Andrew, do you know if the wizard, if it was going to apply something like a limit of 720 records, would it take the first 720 in the sheet, or would it look at the first?
I don't know why it gives different errors different time. Okay.
Ah, okay.
Before this version, okay, before this version of Wizard, in the
Mm,
previous version, what happens is it it creates a receipt and applies only first two installments from the entire installment. Okay.
right.
And remaining, it doesn't apply. It gets errored out. But in the new version, when I tried uploading and create the receipt, it never created the receipt. It just did the validation and throwed an error for the remaining installments and showed validated only for the first 722.
Yeah, I think I understand the process there. So this error that's being picked up in validation, which wasn't being picked up before, stops it from doing the next step, which is the API call.
Yeah.
So it's stopping earlier in the process. So it's quite possible they did some work on that fix, but it's quite possible that worked, but we're not actually getting to the point where we can verify.
No, one thing which I'm not sure, or which is very weird for me to understand, when I'm downloading these records, it is exactly throwing 2,453 installments with the right information, with the right outstanding balance. So when it can download by doing a search on the invoice number and throw me correct installment numbers and correct balances for these installments, why it is not happening when I'm trying to apply the same installment numbers against the receipt?
That's what we're trying to work out, whether there is a limit, like you mentioned before, in the wizard that would only accept up to a certain number.
Just to interrupt there, I don't think there's a limit. I think there's a query, obviously, to download, and there's a different query behind each control, so that because you might not have certain fields in the worksheet, so the queries for validation are different queries. And my
Yeah.
guess is that the logic that's filtering the installments that are valid has got a mistake in it, where it's filtering some of those records out. So when it's doing the upload, it's running a different query to what it's running when it's downloading.
Yeah, it's just interesting that it's using the sort order that Oracle uses. So instead of having, I don't know, like 1, 2, 3 up to 10 and then 11, sometimes Oracle does the funny numbering where, I can't remember which way around it works, but it's not logical numbering. And that's what Ram was showing, that the order that Oracle stores the records, the first 720 are being validated and all the others are not. But that's not necessarily in strict numerical sequence.
Yeah, so the download, sorry, the validation query for upload is obviously seeing those first ones that you see in the Oracle,
Yeah.
a different type of record to the subsequent ones. So there must be some where clause,
Yeah, well,
I guess, which is filtering some of them out. So I don't have that logic in front of me, but I think with this recording, they'll be able to understand exactly where to look to fix it, because it'll be maybe it's got where something or other equals something that's incorrect, and then there's a different status between the two records, which there shouldn't be. So that would be a mistake that have to be corrected.
Okay.
But yeah, we might as well keep going through this so that they've seen the whole scenario. You said that it takes 30 odd minutes, right, to do the validation. So that's not going to be on.
No, for validation, yes, but not for the download. Download is pretty much quick. For validation, yes, it takes 30 to 40 minutes.
That's fine. We've seen the results, so we'll just show them. What we'll do is we'll take this copy of the worksheet from you again with your information, because they'll have seen the download. They've seen that the form doesn't have those sequence numbers, installation numbers in the list, and that's the thing they'll tackle. That shouldn't be too hard to fix as long as they can figure out the difference between the two records.
Okay.
But they'll know what to look for there.
All right, and I think today morning when I spoke to, I think it was David.
Brad and Ryan that you spoke
Yeah,
to?
Brad. Yeah. So they did say that there's a new version to handle the installments. So, I mean, they said that the line 11 application has been fixed in the new version. So is this the version, or
yeah, it will be, but obviously because we're failing on validation, we're not getting to check that. They believe that the problem with only the 2 lines being applied, that should have been tackled, but this validation stop is getting in the way of testing that. It's still quite a slow download.
Yeah, it is.
Is this, you were saying yesterday, Ram, that you've got pretty poor performance on this instance compared to, say, your prod. How do your other queries, I don't know, you're not using any of our other tools, I don't think, but how does it look just generally, like when you're doing queries? You're reasonably satisfied with the performance on this? I mean, because the issue with the timing out, they've tackled by just limiting the amount of data in the chunks that are going across the web server. And normally that's not an issue, but it is normally related to the database not performing very well.
Well, if you ask me, the new version, this particular version, has better speed than the previous versions.
Okay, so that's positive. Unfortunately, I can't really explain what they've done to address that, but okay, they'll be pleased.
Definitely, it's positive than previous version of Wizard, but then I have used these wizards in my previous organization, and it doesn't take so much of time. It's pretty.
I would expect this to be whizzing through that such that it'll be hard to read. So, surprised by that performance, but that's okay. Well, it'll certainly be different in your other instances if you get to prod. But maybe I'll bring up with him on the case just to double check that the queries are fine tuned. Sometimes they rely on indexes that maybe you need to be, I don't know, maybe take the hints out and things like that. You said that's 2453, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Not far away.
We're going to get all this in the debug now, are we, as well? All the downloaded?
It'll just have the query.
Mm. Oh, okay.
I must admit, so I'm not a big fan of these forms that give you status.
No.
I feel like they slow the process down.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think you just want to know when it's finished. You don't really care what number it's on, do you?
No.
But it, yeah, at a testing level, this is good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So, and I mean, we already know the answer, but maybe for the sake of the video, just scroll across and we'll just look at those
Okay.
sequence numbers and
All right.
just prove the order. Because the order, I mean, it really should be
Look.
ordering it.
So when you download, it downloads from the last record.
Yeah.
The sequence changes.
When you go to the download form,
Mhm.
some of the tools have controls for affecting ordering. I'm not too sure. Yeah, so there's a sorting order at the, I don't know these controls that well, but there's no.
No, we got the maximum rows, but that's fine, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
and then nothing else that controls how you download it, what order.
well, there is, if you cancel
Oh.
out of that form, there is one on the toolbar there, and I'm not sure if that's.
Oh yes, sorting order.
Can you just cancel out of this form and then just scroll up to the, just up to the toolbar at the top there? It says one of the controls has got a sorting order on it.
Where?
Back in the wizard again.
On the other spreadsheet there.
Okay.
Just under where you are, yeah, just underneath the tab that says setup, there's an A to Z. Yeah, that's it. What is?
This one.
Just click on that. It
Yeah.
should bring up a form. Okay, so it's got descending.
Not installment number there.
Yeah, but maybe that should be set to ascending anyway. I don't know if it.
Well, it's just
Oh, well.
it's only one invoice, so it won't make any difference.
Yeah, it just depends if they use the same clause for all the sub tables. Anyway, that's okay. They'll have seen that now, and maybe they need to make a change for the default behavior.
Okay, now let's do one thing. I'll just double click on this form and see whether this is a valid installment.
Yeah.
No,
No, it's not.
it is not a valid installment, but it has downloaded. This is what is a little weird for me.
Yeah, no, but I understand that. So the download query ran a table query against your transactional Oracle tables.
Mhm.
The list of values has a query just for installment against the invoice number, and it's a separate query. It should bring the same subset of data, but it's not in this case. So the logic that builds this list that you have here, I believe that's where the failing is. So I'll highlight that in the case. So if you could do us a favor, then save this with that debug sheet in it, add it to the case or just email it to me and I'll put it on both the cases. There seems to be kind of a little bit of a crossover on the case numbers here. We'll keep all of them open for now, and I'll put this on all of them, and I'll do another summary like we did at the end of yesterday's case, and I'll explain to Brent. I think it'll be Ryan actually who looks at that query behind that control.
Okay, you want this wizard to be copied to you, right?
Yes, please. That's it. That's perfect. I'll know what to do with that. I'll like I did yesterday, I'll summarize what we mentioned. I think we're quite close to an understanding of what they need to fix. Obviously, we'll still need to check the fix that they believe they delivered for the application problem with the 2 rows versus the 2400 applications. But that's the next step.
Cool.
Cool. So I'll just double check that arrived before we close this meeting down. Just bear with me. Figure out how to use my computer. Sorry. that Zoom screen kind of takes over a little bit, doesn't it? When it's next.
Yeah, it does. I can't get to anything there.
You have to Alt Tab out of it.
Yeah.
So that'll be quite a big file now, I imagine, because it's got two
Sorry,
downloads.
Andrew. I think it dropped down in between. I was not able to hear you.
It's okay. I'm just checking that arrived, and then once I've got that, we can end the meeting, and I'll document the what the investigation threw up today. But from your perspective, Sue, just to verify that you're quite happy with the user steps he's taking there. He's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Silly.
No, it looks right now. I think Ram's fixed his the receipt, just having one header row for the receipt and then copying the outstanding balances for the lines or for the installments. So that all looks okay from what I can tell now.
Where has it come in? But it's a very big file.
Yeah. It's still not out of my outbox.
Oh, is it? Okay. Hey, one of the
Yeah.
things you mentioned yesterday when you were trying to do a workaround was you were copying the header information down row by row. Do you remember you spoke about that when you were worried about it?
I spoke to Ron about that today morning, and that's why he said the new version should not have that problem. So that's where I've created one single invoice, one single receipt for the entire installment amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the other way which I tested in my previous versions is I will create equal number of receipts for the equal number of installments to apply
Yeah,
it.
that's right. Yeah.
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 But I still think you'd have the
But
same problem with this validation query, because even if you're just doing one line, it's still not finding those numbers to be valid.
exactly.
Cool. It's a shame this is taking a while, but I do think it's worth double checking that it arrives before. I'll tell you what, we could end the meeting, and if I don't have the file within half an hour, say, I could send you a prompt, because I don't want to keep you on the phone any longer than you need.
1 second, I think. Let me check this. I think it is sent. Yeah, it has been sent.
Okay, so it shouldn't be far away from me now. This is
All right.
when we find out who's got the best internet speed. Yeah, so yeah, I'm happy to close it off. If I have any issues with that file, I'll just send you a prompt and maybe get you to resend it, but we'll just give it a few minutes to come across. And
Okay.
I'll
All
update
right.
that case. I might actually update a few of them just to make sure everyone's in the picture. And probably
Okay.
about 30, 40 minutes if you want to just double check what I've said. And that means
Right.
you guys can
Okay.
start on this problem testing.
Let's see if hopefully this can be closed within this week. I mean, if that is done, then yeah, we have done all kind of. There's only final thing which is pending.
Yeah, I do think I know that you had that meeting yesterday. If you grab hold of them in your morning tomorrow, like you spoke yesterday, probably still worth taking that opportunity when you're in the same sort of working day. I would do that. But like I said, at the end of this, they'll have the full picture, so they should know what to do next.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks so much for your time, and thank you, Sue, for joining in.
No problem. Thanks,
All
Ram.
right.
Great.
Bye.
We'll be in
Thank
touch,
you.
man.
Thank you, Andrew. Bye.
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 Bye.